People are saying that Claude Code can or Code can go and solve world hunger or world peace. Yesterday I heard world peace. I think peace is becoming more important than hunger these days. So they said, okay, if we have to solve for, let's solve for world peace. So these models, the learning loop, the model, after the model is trained, even Opus 4.7 or GPT 5.5, they cannot learn after that. Thank you for joining. Today's session is a little hands-on session. Generally, we do these sessions every Friday, and I bring a lot of things that I know. Today is the things that we explore with you also. So what's the agenda today? Learning loops. We'll understand what is happening in the world of agents, what are the unsolved problems, and there is one unsolved problem, which is the models don't learn like you and me learn, especially after they are trained. So we're trying to hack intelligence. We don't have a real intelligence, but we have tried to hack that intelligence. And I will share what are the challenges, and then we will pick one of the challenge, which is learning loop, and try to go deep in that. I will show you few things that you can do in your products and in your personal agents also that give them capability to continuously learn and grow. That's the agenda today. We'll also talk about some of the limitations of learning loop, what is still not unsolved, because solving is one thing and not what problems are not solved is more important for product managers than knowing what is already solved. And most of the things we'll talk about which are solved and most are not. What is not as well. Okay. Without further ado, let's get this session started. I will be using a lot of board. That's my way, or that's how I work. And then when we need to do a lab, or I will show you how this lab works, that we will do on the screen. Good. Let's get on it so that all of you can follow along and understand. Okay. So we have a journey right now. We have 2023. We got models which you can use to do chit chats, chat GPT. Good. 2024, you can build agents. 2025, you can build multi-agents, multilingual, multi-agent, multimodal. Modal means now you can have voice, video. This is the world of you can convert audio, video, text, all the modalities, and you can build multiple agents with an orchestrator on it. But the main challenge is that intelligence comes from the model provider, but you still need to build the harness on how are you going to bring your company knowledge, how are you going to manage your memory, how are you going to manage your tools, how are you put guardrails or define your logics or rules. This was the hard part. That's where most of the companies made business. If you look at Glenn, if you look at Harvey, if you look at any vertical, most of the companies tried to took the model, pick a problem, and build this harness and gave it to you as a subscription or some kind of a retainer or some kind of a problem solving thing. Like if you look at Notion, or some companies said, we will take Notion. Notion said, we already have your information. Let us build this harness and give you more capabilities that now you can create your documents and all. So that's the world till 2025. What happens in 2026 is there is a new SDK, or the models grow because of three main changes, which is the models got even more smarter. We got computer control, that these models can access your file system and can browse on your behalf, and can also have command line access so that they can send bash or command line commands on your machine. So we got more capabilities. The model became really powerful. And because the models became powerful, there was another thing, they can run for a long amount of time. So you have these long running jobs. So instead of 6 minutes, the model on its own can go for 16 hours to solve problems. With these three combined, we got products like Claude Code, That became co-work. And now they can do is they can take a task, they can get a lot of information from your file system as well as from internet. So what they do is they gather context. They already have a lot of connectors, like they can connect to your Slack, they have connected all the MCP server, they already have access to your file system. So they have much more larger action capabilities. So they can take action, they can write code, they can send emails, they can go and call a database and query it, like you go and query and dump data. And then it can also evaluate that it achieved its goal or not. And if not, then it can go and keep retrying these things. Good. So that's what Claude Code is, or that's what agent loop inside the Claude Code new SDK, which only got out in November 2027, I believe, November 2025. That's what people are talking about. This is agentic 2.0. They are saying something. There's an article on internet that is something big is happening. That's mostly powered by this capability that instead of you or somebody else doing this harness, the model and harness are coming from the model providers or the intelligent lab, and they are much more generic and much more powerful. Okay, everybody same page? Even if you are not, just follow along. So the idea is we got smarter models. The model started taking actions. The model can be multi-agents, multi-modal. And in 2026, we're looking at a world where these models can take much more jobs, run them for a longer amount of time. That means you have some kind of generic capability to delegate things and get them done. And this is what you go when you use Cowork or when you use Claude Code, you will see these capabilities in action. Okay, then what? So that's where we stand today. Then what are the three things that are still not working, even in 2026, or where we need product managers to build products? If they are working in AI, if you need to build AI agents, or if you're going to build agent capabilities on top of these models, then what are the three things that are not working still today? So 2026, if you ask any research lab like Demis or Dario or me, what will we say? What is still not working? One is this idea of managing memory. So what we have to do is remember that context, action, and eval, and keep looping. There is a context length. This has to be all stored in memory. And we have a limited context that we can send to the model each time. And this context keep accumulating, or this memory management of what to send, what to drop on each iteration, that's still work in progress. How much time this long running job or long horizon jobs, long running jobs is good, but still like barred at 10, 15 hours. Ideally, we want to have them at weeks. And the third big thing is there is no learning from once a job is solved. So if you give me a job of writing a PRD, and if I write a PRD and then you go and review that PRD, the next time you come in, you would like me to learn from what you reviewed or what comments you gave. But there is no capability out of box that's learning on each iteration. So there is no learning loop. Once the model is trained, model stops learning. And what happens is, because of this, what's happening is people are saying that Claude Code can or Cowork can go and solve world hunger or world peace. Yesterday, I heard world peace. I think peace is becoming more important than hunger these days. So they said, okay, if we have to let's solve for world peace. So these models, the learning loop, the model, after the model is trained, even Opus 4.7 or GPT 5.5, which came out yesterday, I believe, they cannot learn after that. The learning stops the moment they stop learning. which by the way is like almost a year before they are released. Now 6 months because they are releasing much more cadence. So the model is not learning. How can you make the model learn or learn from this? Because when you and me come to do the jobs, I will learn from your feedbacks, like the kind of question you ask me, and you will learn from my feedbacks. If you are working in a company, you will learn from your manager feedback. You will write a document, somebody will review it. You look at those review comments, and then you remember this that, hey, they ask these questions every time. Next time you go, you do a better job. But if you give, even with that loop of context, you have this skill now which does a PRD review. Given a PRD, it can review your PRD. Okay, then can this skill learn continuously? So you can create a skill now which you give an input as a PRD document, and it gives you a commented comments to improve. So PRD reviewed, PRD after review. So this skill can be built on cowork, which I will show you in a second. So I just created a skill which said, hey, review this PRD based on this checklist. And now I can give it a PRD. It gives me a reviewed PRD with comments in it. Good. So I need not to at least do the first scan on my own. And because of this loop and because the intelligence we have built so far, this thing works. But it's not perfect, right? Then what I have to do is, as a human, I come in, I look at this one, which is done by the AI, and I will hopefully, maybe, let's say, delete 3 comments or 3 things that are very basic or not done correctly. And maybe I add 10 more comments. Good. So this is the third copy. But instead of this machine, if it would have been some human who you asked this to review them, if they saw these 10 more comments and got these 3 removed, next time when they will get a PRD, so this is our day 1, this is day 3, let's say we give another PRD. What do you expect this skill or this co-work to do? Will it give similar comments, or will it learn from my 10 comments, 3 comments? So what, as a human, I added value by doing this? Do you think if I give a new PRD, new day 3 PRD, I got another PRD, somebody sent it for me to review. I send it to my co-work, it has the same skill. I get my review comment. Will it have the comments that I added? Like the modification I added on top of what it has done?
No.
Right?
No. How many say no?
No.
Raise your hand. Okay. Achint raised his hand. I can see them. Just raise your hand in like raising your hand. Feature in Zoom. These are saying no. Okay. Okay. These are no sayers. Everybody is saying yes. Everybody else, can I assume, say yes? I know no answers are there, but I generally don't take them. I have to put you somewhere. You play or you don't play. Okay. So everybody is saying yes. No. So these are saying no, I will still get the same kind of quality, same kind of comment which I got on day 1, even if I updated this with new comments. Good. Okay, then. So these people are saying no, everybody says yes, great. And rest, anybody who want to unmute and tell me why I will get better comments? I get it. No one, just I got that. You need not to talk. Anybody who thinks that I will get better comments on day 3 than day 1? Same skill, same everything.
I don't think that it would be better comments. I just think they would be updated based on the new PRD, but it won't have an understanding of the difference between the
Will
two
it
or
have
why.
what I learned here, right? Which I also taught, like I kind of did work on top of it, right? So first PRD
Okay, I
came,
missed
AI returned a review one, and I worked
that.
on top of it. Will these learnings be there in the new,
Yes.
if I send a new
No,
PRD
it will not
after
be.
day 3?
It will
If
not
you
be.
Yes.
share that context, I think so,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And why? How?
Yes,
Because you're
Because
building
the agent
instruction.
is learning.
Because the
Because it's
context
learning.
is
Yes, because
updated.
you're giving it context.
Memory.
Let's say only thing I'm giving is the same PID. So this input is PID. I give a PID and I can give a checklist. So I have a PID. Inputs
But
are
are you giving it day 1 PRD or are you giving it day 3
You've
PRD?
updated the
so
skills, right, for the
let's set it up. Let's
PRD.
set it up. Let's set it up. Let's set it up. So there is a checklist in a folder that we have. We always use the checklist as a team. Our new PRD comes in. Let's call it PRD for this law firm. PRD for this new feature. New feature one. Feature one. Okay. PRD feature one. Checklist was there. The prompt was, hey, use the checklist and comment or give me review comment. Review this PRD based on the checklist. You got a PRD back. Feature one reviewed. This is what you had. Then you came in and you removed 3 comments and you added 10 comments. This was feature one. Good.
So
And
Mahesh,
then you took
when
this
you
one.
gave the comments, did you give it back to the thing?
No, I
to
didn't write. No, I just commented on Word, right? I opened that in Word. I looked at what AI has done. I thought these AI is just nitpicking these 3 ones. So I removed those 3 and then I added 10 more. And then I
And
sent it back to Akansha.
But
So
you have
And
not
if you-
compiled the checklist actually
if-
yet for the 10 comments,
Uh,
etc.
No, I
and
didn't
if you
update the checklist either, right? So the checklist is
So
constant. I am just doing my job, right? So Akansha sends me for feature one. I gave it to AI. AI gives me back. I update my review comments. I remove 3. I added 10. And then I gave it back to Akansha saying, Akansha, please work on these. I have commented on your PRD. Let me know when the next revision is ready.
So Mahesh,
I was done on day 1. That is what all I did. Day 1 was done. Let's go to the day 3 now. Day 3, what happens is Amil comes at me and Amil says, hey Mahesh, I'm building feature number 3. Another feature, another PRD. PRD feature number 3 comes in. I give it to AI. I say, hey, use the checklist, review this PRD. Because that's my first run these days. I'm not like, I rely on AI to get me the first cut. And I wanted to improve. So it gave me a review feature 3 review PRD. Good. Now my question is, will the learnings that I added these 3 comments, 10 comments on day 1 to Akansha, ideally, if this was a human, I would be very bad if they missed these 3 or 10. At least I would ask them to not do what I told them or like if I reviewed with them. But if I got this one, will it have this learning or not?
No,
Was the question. And
no.
my hypothesis is then I was asking people who said yes, it will have, and you can change your answer because I didn't explain in this like detail. But if you still believe that it will have the learnings from this 3 comments, 10 comments, then I would like to know why or how. Let's just assume for the time being that this is not getting updated, right? So next time I come in, I still have the same problem. It's still picking those 3 nitpicking. It's doing those basic things, which I didn't like or I told on day 1. I'm seeing the same problems on day 3. So day 1 performance is same as day 3 performance, unless I go manually change the checklist or modify my skill or explicitly go and tell it, right? So let's say that's the current state. Even with all sophisticated AI, even with the latest model, even with long running jobs, we still have this problem of day 1 looks like day 3, day 5, day 7, unless somebody explicitly keep going and updating these skills or checklist and does this hard work every day. And I know from human behavior, we want to get the job done, but we don't want to consistently learn or grow. We don't do it to ourselves, forget about growing and others or these agents for sure. Okay, then, if that's the case, then how can we solve that problem? So if we can solve that problem, okay, that one, a lot of people liked it. Great. So if we want to solve that problem, maybe we divide this into a few things, which is we already have a job, which is like the job is review. So doer, we can have a skill which basically says, go do the job. Then we can have a repository of learning we can call it checklist or wisdom, right? And then we need something more. Correct? We already have these. We have the person who, the skill that reviews the job. We already have wisdom, which is like, hey, how to do this job? Like the playbook, checklist, or wisdom. That's already stored. These two we already have, but seems like we need something three in these systems, which is missing today in almost every system that you're playing with, like Claude Code or Cowork or anything. And that third thing is a learner. What does the learner do? The learner should be able to take every time a job is done, should be able to take the AI copy, then take the human modified copy and learn from it, right? If it can learn from it, then should we just go and update it here? Update to wisdom? That's one thing we can do. So if we have a learner that learns, do the diff, says, oh, Mahesh did remove these 3, added these 10, update the checklist. Good. So do a diff whenever this thing happened, whenever Mahesh updated this human updated, then it goes and updates the wisdom. Then next time I come in, day 3, then I have a better checklist or better wisdom. Then I can update. Then this day 3 will look better than day 1. Correct? Same page? All of you?
Mahesh, this
Problem
happens.
solved?
Mahesh,
Can you please repeat again?
Okay, so what I did is, right now I have 2 things. I have a doer or job doer, which is if I give I give it a review, it has instructions on how to review a document or a PRD, and it can review. It also have a separate file called checklist or wisdom, which it uses to review, so that they are separate, right? Job, how to do the job, and doing the job are 2 different things. That I created already. Then I'm creating a third one.
A separate job actually, like to review the already reviewed the file and make the intelligence better.
Yeah, so that's what I did. Now I have created a job, a learner, whose job is we can schedule the learning that, hey, every night, go compare what AI does with what human came and did on top of it, do a diff, learn from it, and based on that, update the checklist or update your wisdom. And then next day, if somebody comes in, they get a better checklist. That means they will do better job. Same page?
Mahesh, when you're saying update your wisdom, are you talking about like updating the
Checklist.
Claude MD file?
No, the checklist.md, right? So imagine we have 2 things, right? We have a PRD and checklist. PRD, the user sends the PRD. We only have a checklist. We will update the checklist every day now.
But what
Same
if
page?
that's not intended? If the comments that you are
Very good
making,
question. So I gave the comments, right? Mahesh gave 3 review, 3 removed the 3 comments, added 10. I have taken that, and you're saying if you add it, maybe this will be a humbo jumbo thing. Good, good. Open problem. Open problem is, hey, I add, if I'm in a mood, sometimes I add random things. Sometimes I'm just nitpicking. Sometimes I wanted to avoid few things because there is a lot of context, right? That someday for some people you don't want to do nitpicking, but if there is some person who really you want them to learn how to put how to put a full stop and then give a space because they never do it, you want to do that nitpicking. But if you remove these 3 here, then it won't do that. And now you have a problem that maybe sometimes if you miss anything or if you remove for some person, you don't have context specific learning. So it can solve the problem, but it still doesn't bring the context, like still doesn't bring like the nuances of day to day, because you behave separately with separate people. You do different kind of picks on different people, right? How can we solve that? Any ideas? Anybody who has ideas on this, and if you have your hands up, you can just talk about it. If not, you can just talk about it without the hand also. I just looking for one idea. So now my problem is, my original problem is, even if I have the smartest of the machines, smartest of the co-work, I create skills. I can create checklists. So a skill will do the job of reviewing a PRD based on a checklist or some kind of wisdom I have, which is my company context or my guidelines. Okay, I separated it so that I can play with both of them. So right now I have two artifacts. I am introducing a third one, which is the learner. The learner compares what AI does versus human updates. But now I have challenge. I can't just go and update it like every day blindly just on the diffs of what AI did and what human added on top of it. So I have one
So,
challenge.
Mahesh, it needs an information architecture in terms of the context of which when this checklist has to be updated and when has to be used, so that it has a hierarchy and the graph of when to use what.
Okay, great. Anything else? So what Nishita is suggesting is, Nishita is saying, Mahesh, now you need a fourth thing that actually create patterns and see which patterns are actually sticking, right?
Yeah.
Which are the patterns that are sticky, that comes again and again, and let's not update this checklist or this wisdom or this whole thing here every day. Let the learner find it out, and then we need something which find patterns of things that are never changing. I'm doing this again and again every time for a month, for 6 months, for a year, and if I'm doing same thing in every document, that's a good signal. Maybe that's one way to catch this or solve this problem. Any other way?
You also
Let
have
a
different
human in the
opinions,
loop
like
and
what if you get
then the
conflicting
agent learns
feedback?
from that.
Great. Now, what the problem with the patterns is that the patterns is like if you put 6 days, maybe I don't do that many reviews. It's just harder. So maybe we also bring human in loop. Any other idea?
So in the prompt itself, actually, like you can have a two section, like every time that you are doing it, it would be a first only do the checklist. And the second section is basically can be controlled through the some kind of a daily scheduled jobs where actually it will look into the processed file or the last 1 month or 2 months, whatever the frequency, grab the pattern and always modifying actually the prompt file itself. So every time actually when the checklist and both can run, you always actually have a very filtered and improved information.
Great. That's
Final
exactly what I do.
output. Check the final output and compare it to what you produced, and that is the true learning.
How about using
The challenge is like when Karpathy or these developers build these research loops or these loops, they have this idea of code compiling or comparing with some standard. When you go to more subjective jobs, so the coding or training a model is more like an objective job where you know what the output is and you can compare it. But when you go to PRDs and review of PRDs, it's a more subjective job. I can review a PRD, my reviewed PRD again, and find 10 more things, and I can remove some of the things that I added. So it's a subjective job. And to do the subjective jobs, the architectures which we're going to share with you has three things. So what happens is, first, I have created a review skill. All it does is it can review PRDs. Okay, we also have a checklist which goes and compares it with something. And so we have done that. This is the job, and this is the wisdom to do the job or the degree to do the job or how to do the job. So this is what, and this is how. So you will see those two things in the lab, which I will show you quickly. Then we have a job, a scheduled job, which we have created inside Cowork, or you can create it OpenClaw or anywhere. What this job does is it goes there every 60 minutes and checks that, hey, is there any changes? Now, this also has a structure that we have created. Every time this is reviewed, we put it in a folder where we put what was the checklist used, what was the original PRD, and what is AI produced PRD. Good. So this is your system. Your skill does that. Every time the skill or this reviewer gets a PRD, it creates a new folder, puts a time stamp, puts the checklist it's using, takes the original one which the user sent, and whatever it produces also puts it in the same folder. Good. You will
Yeah.
get a folder out of it. I will show you in a second. Okay, so now you have a folder with today's date and all that. Now we have configured a job in Cowork. What it does is the user also goes and updates this PRD. So it also creates a copy of what a human created or human modified one looks like. Same folder. Good. So now my job can go in, and what it tries to do is it tries to create a pattern or changes.md file. So this is in this folder. So now if in a day, I get one folder with three things: original PRD, checklist, AI PRD, AI reviewed PRD, human reviewed PRD, right? So that's my, every time this job is done, there is one folder. So I will have many folders here. If I do, let's say, three
Human
PRD
reviewed
reviews, I will
PRD,
have
can
three.
we? Hi Mahesh. So in place of human reviewed PRD, can we have the comments only?
You can have that. Let me just do what I did, and then we all can improve it, right? Okay, then this script, what it does is, this schedule job, what it does is, it goes to this folders, compare these two, and try to create a pattern.md and keep a count of the patterns. Okay, I see this pattern. Here is a count for it. Here is a count for it. Here is a count for it. And anytime a pattern count goes above 2, it updates the checklist, this one, to a new version and sends an email to me, Mahesh, and says, hey, Mahesh, I have found this pattern. So this is a third job. So this is a job, one new job, and this is the fourth job, whose job is to actually update the wisdom, update or not update the wisdom, or checklist, update checklist. So what it does is, it goes and, so this one runs, creates the pattern. When the pattern count increased above a threshold, this job runs and says, hey, let me ask the user that I have a new checklist now with these 3 new patterns to be added, and this, add this, remove this one pattern. And I, as a user, goes to GitHub. I can go and make these changes, accept or reject this new file. If I accept this, day 3 looks better than day 1. That's the solution I came up with. I will give you the lab. With that lab, you will be able to deploy the same logic, same system in all the jobs you are automating or running with Claude Code or Cowork. And this is one way to think about this. Of course, you can improve it. Of course, you can do 100 things on top of it. Before I take on questions, let me just go and show you this in action so you can see it, how it goes and how it works. And there are few, obviously, it's not a solved problem. So I am iterating. As I said in the beginning, today's session is more hands-on on things that are still not in production for me or anyone. This is a thing that we all need to continuously iterate on. So let me show you what my setup looks like. So first, I have a skill which reviews the PRD. So I can just give a PRD like this. I just gave a PRD, and what it does is it says, okay, please review this PRD. It goes in, takes 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then it creates a folder, which I will show you. It creates a folder like this, where it creates, this was the input, this is the reviewed PRD. So if I open it, you will see that AI has already added comments for me that I can go and review. Where? Here. Great. And it uses my own. It says, hey, problem opening a product centric, customer centric. Can you provide, prove it worked, introduce legal graph, no validated demand signal, no customer quotes, pilot results, or waitlist without proof or real points. Feature language throughout, reframe around executive experience, what they see on day 1, what decision it enables, and what changes after using legal graph AI. So I'm just commenting, and it commented on my behalf. Good. So I got these. Now what I can do is I can go and remove some of these, and I can say delete this thread or remove this comment. And then I can add more. I can say, hey, I don't like this format. I don't like this one. And this is what happens when you start using Word after spending whole your life in Google Docs. Why is this problem hard? Make sure this comes as a pain point rather than a bullet point with example. Pain point rather than objective statement with example, so I can feel the pain. So reader can feel the pain. Reader can feel the pain. Okay, I won't put these things in my checklist, but I will put them here. Okay, once I have created this, what happens is I have these jobs. So this is the review comment tracker job. What it does is it runs every day. So you can see that now everything in my folder. So this is the job I ran today and all the reviews I am doing, like this one. And it creates these folders for me every time somebody asks for a review. And then this job goes in, creates, search these folders. So now it scans just 30 minutes. It goes, it scans, it finds if there are comments that are new comments detected. If not, then it updates this learner.md. Then I have this review analyzer, which sends an action, which sends a email to me. And then this one continuously checks or gives me reminders to send back the results. Or if I approve or disapprove, it monitors my response to over email. And whenever I respond, it goes and says, okay, if he approved, then we are good. If he rejected, then we need not to. Let's continue with checklist. And my day one looks different than day three if I go and put this in production. So that's pretty much it. I know this is a lot. So what I have requested the team to do is they have put a step-by-step lab, which all of you can follow to have a similar setup. And I would love to see what you come up with, or you can enhance it, of course. So just going in the end, what you will see is here is our new lab. In this lab, what you will see is you will have three. What it does is stage one, it creates something, then it creates a differentiation of pattern extractor. Then you have a scheduler which asks for approval. And then based on the approval, whether there is an applier which goes and apply your changes or not. Step-by-step lab that you can follow today and build a feedback loop inside every agent that you are building, which continuously learn. And you will see the challenges and problems that they have, even with this lab in practice. So that's the story today. In summary, first we looked at where we stand today. What's the cool thing happening in our world with agent loop and all. Then we saw the limitations, which are memory is bad, long running jobs and bad memory is costing a lot of money. That's why you are paying a lot of money running these Claude Code or Coworks. And then we looked at this last thing, which is we have to solve for learning because the model provider or these labs have not solved for continuous learning inside models. And then we looked at the challenges of not using learning. And then we kind of solved those and then tried to do it in a lab. If you're looking for resources or learn more, these are the three I will say you should learn, which is self-coding loops. There are many people who have named themselves Ender loop, Ralph loop, Harness loop, Karpathy loop. You can read all of them. You should look what is human in loop. This video does a good job. And then what is the long running jobs harness and understanding it. These are the building blocks on what I based our session today. So if you didn't understood these, you may had hard time following. So maybe you want to watch these videos and then watch my session again. The lab link is here. And with that said, that's pretty much all I had. If you want to stay connected or if you want to be invited in these calls in future, please subscribe to our Substack. That's the single place where we are consolidating all of this information. We release 2 posts every week and we're trying to get the best high quality content to you. These labs included with step-by-step guidance on what I talked today will also be released in Substack. So you can always go back, refer, follow along. So please subscribe to our Substack. And if you are ready to do more, then we have our next cohort starting on May 8th. Please come to the cohort where we will talk basics of building agents with NA10 and Claude Code, and then show you all the challenges with memory, multi-agent systems, and more. And then handhold you to build your own projects. So it's not only that you go learn these concepts, you actually apply them and build on your ideas, and then take it to a stage where at least 5 customers can give you feedback and evaluate and then iterate. So want to build that, then please join our cohort. And we don't stop at that cohort. Then we will also do advanced OpenClaw and Claude Code Mastery bootcamp. And today, if you want to take that, both of them are coming as a bundle. You can enroll at this price. This will only be available for next 5 to 8 hours. That's what they told me. We released a session with Akash last week where I talked about this learning loop and a lot of other things like agent loop and all. So join that. You can subscribe for all future events here. With that said, here are all our resources, our Maven, Substack, Slack, and everything. And thanks.